and double header here in Germany for the latest instalment of the 2018 Formula Renault Eurocup. Chris Hartley here, trackside of what at the moment is a pretty sunny and fairly warm Nürburgring. It looks set to be a dry weekend, unlike 12 months ago where we had one dry race and one very wet race in Formula Renault. There you can see the track temperature just under 23 degrees Celsius. There is the Nürburgring Castle over in the background, and there, if you look closely, you can see cars running around the Nordschleife, which of course is the original Nürburgring, the green hell which runs around the perimeters of this modern-day Grand Prix facility, which was first built back in the mid-1980s, 1984, ready for Grand Prix racing. And after qualifying this morning, it's the American driver Logan Sargent that managed to get pole position. As ever, the cars were split into two groups, and as the first car's out this morning at 49, the track got quicker and quicker, and so it's the second group led by Logan Sargent that went fastest. Max Futrell, championship, a little bit compared to the RSGP cars. They seem to have the setup well sorted here, and the driver fifth in the championship is just inside the top 10 on the fifth row of the grid in 10th spot. There you can see Clemens Novalak, who is another rookie in the championship this year. Missed a couple of races with an injury a couple of rounds ago at Spa. He had to miss the second race of the weekend at the Red Bull Ring, and then was completely absent from the Spa event. So he's missed 3 races this season, but has been picking up some strong results over the course of the year. So there is the site as these cars are lined up. The Nürburgring circuit awaits, a circuit which the drivers that I've spoken to so far this weekend, they do enjoy. It's a fairly undulating circuit. I mean, it doesn't, of course, compare to the Nordschleife just next door, but it is a circuit which does offer some overtaking opportunities. It's actually a little bit longer than when it was first built in 1984. They changed the first corner, which is virtually a hairpin now, into turn 1, and rebuilt the first sector of the lap, predominantly the first few corners through turns 2, 3 and 4 in the Mercedes arena, to try and encourage more overtaking. So into turn 1 there are generally some good overtaking opportunities under braking, and later on in the lap as well, down at the Dunlop hairpin, and particularly at the hardest braking zone of the lap, going down the back straight into turn 14. There are 16 turns, turns 14 and 15, the NGK chicane. That's the heaviest braking zone. They're going from top speed from 6th gear and somewhere in the region of 230 kilometers an hour down to just 2nd gear at 100 kilometers an hour, and that's again usually a chance where you get a bit of a tow, have an opportunity to come through on the brakes and see what you can do. So there is the American driver Logan Sargent, who is already a race winner this season. He did a couple of rounds of the championship at the back end of last year, but concentrated on the British F4 Championship. This then is his first full season, and he's therefore still classified as a rookie driver, and he's in 6th place in the standings. Got a win in his very first race of the season at Le Castellet for Ricard. Could have had a good result the day after as well, but for a technical problem, and he's had 3 second place finishes. Results have been a bit up and down over the last few rounds, but he's fighting for this race victory today, and he said maybe could have found another 1/10 of a second a lap, but it was still enough. I didn't quite have my second lap together. Some Victor Martins, and you're seeing now Christian Lundgaard, the championship leader so far this season, with 3 race wins and 7 podium finishes. The 53 car making its way up to the grid now is one of the AVF run cars. Adrian Valles, the former runner-up in the Formula Renault 3.5 series back in 2005, where he came close to winning the championship up against the Polish driver Robert Kubica. Of course, went on to become a Grand Prix winner in Formula 1. And they've got 3 drivers competing this weekend. Axel Matus, who you're seeing there, the 51 car. Felicia Martinez, the former Spanish karting champion, another rookie. And Christian Munoz, the Colombian driver. They're 3 drivers. So Logan Sargent on the pole position here, and he's very much capable of taking the fight. He was very impressive in his qualifying session as well, as was Max Futrell. Max's lap time was actually only quick enough to be the 4th fastest overall, but the way it works with the 2 groups, generally, one group always gets the better rub of the green in terms of a better track, more grip on the track, and the groups will swap tomorrow. So Max will get to go in the 2nd group and have a better chance of pole position. There is FIA 2nd in the championship, only 8 points between them. It's 25 points for a race win. It's an FIA championship, so points down to 10th place. And it'll only take one result for it to swing completely back the other way. Christian Lundgaard really might be focusing on just trying to beat FEE today and not necessarily trying to win the race from where he is on the grid. Victor Martin's third in the championship, a race winner at the pole sitter at the Red Bull Ring, and a driver that has also been a race winner twice this year at the Red Bull Ring and at Spa in recent times, having a much stronger second half to the season. Alexander Smoliar there is up near the front of the grid as well. Good qualifying. He was fourth in his group this morning, so he's on the fourth row of the grid, just behind Charles Milesi, who you saw in the number 3 car, who is another race winner, a win at Silverstone, a win at Monaco this year. And he had a dreadful time of it here last year, did Charles Milesi, with 2 retirements, but we're hoping for better things this time around at the Nürburgring. Oscar Piastri has been very impressive in his first season of the championship as well. One of 3 Australian drivers in contention for podium finishes this season. Thomas Neubauer, the French driver, is another that missed some races due to injury, had a foot injury which put him out of both the races at the Red Bull Ring, although he practiced and never got to race that weekend. And with Spa following just 6 days later, there was no chance for him to recover. So Thomas missed a couple of rounds and had a terrible weekend at Budapest a couple of weeks ago with 2 DNFs and a couple of crashes. Lorenzo Colombo, had a good chat with Lorenzo yesterday. Said it's difficult for him to catch up this weekend because although there was a pre-season test at this track, it was wet, it was rain affected, and so he was really for the first time yesterday trying to learn the track, trying to get to grips with it, and still said, you know, I know I've got more time within me, I know I can get closer, although the RHGP squad do look almost untouchable this weekend, Lorenzo was saying to me. And he saw Alex Peroni just before. We see Eliseo Martinez now having another of our race winners, the Australian driver, who's back for his second season in Formula Renault Eurocup. And Eliseo Martinez, another of the rookie drivers with the AVF squad, who's come straight out of karting into this championship. Peroni and Martinez are on the 6th row of the grid. They start 11th and 12th respectively. So Logan Sargent has had just 1 pole position prior to this weekend. That came a couple of events ago at Spa. Wasn't able to win the race there, but at Spa you give everybody a big tow along. Thomas Maxwell has been going well this season in the championship. He's in 10th place currently in the points standings, and is the last of the drivers that could mathematically still win the championship title, because with 50 points available per weekend, 3 weekends to go, that's 150 points, I reckon. And Thomas in 10th place is 144 points behind. Neil Verhagen, the Red Bull Junior driver for the Tech 1 team, is 12th in the standings, but he's 156 points behind. So he can't mathematically win it now. And that 10-driver group could well be whittled down by the end of this weekend as well. So they have the grid now cleared. We get a chance to see these drivers focusing on the task ahead, just their engineers, their race engineers left, and they'll be disappearing in the not too distant future, because we're just about a minute away now from the flag waving and us getting underway on the formation lap. It is going to be a 30-minute race plus 1 lap, same race distance tomorrow. Another qualifying tomorrow to determine the grid, and the championship wide open here. Lundgaard and Ying separated by 8 points, but the top 4, including Futrell in 3rd and Martins in 4th place, separated by less than 50 points. You would say, though, I think that Max Futrell, if it doesn't come today, he'll be very much looking for a race win tomorrow. As I say, it needs to start to close the gap now on those ahead. Been picking up the top 5 podiums, but you have to go back 3 rounds to the Red Bull Ring since he last won a race. The British driver is utterly determined to fight for this championship title. 7 different winners in what's been a hugely competitive championship season. There right at the back of the grid is Raul Guzman, the Fortec driver, the Mexican, who's had all sorts of bad luck this year and seems to have tracked trouble. It's been several times where other cars have caused him grief in races. Unfortunately, he never really got underway in qualifying today because a bolt came loose on the steering column on the outlap. He was stranded in a part of the circuit where they couldn't recover him, and he had to watch qualifying from the sidelines. So Raul Guzman, without a qualifying lap this morning, an easy fix on the car, but that'll be hugely frustrating for Raul. There he is, who's got to now try and find his way from the very back of the grid. The positive thing is that, you know, bad qualifying today doesn't ruin your entire weekend, because you get another chance at it tomorrow. Raul Guzman will be looking to compete here. He's been a driver capable of fighting in the points, and he's one of the drivers that, of course, comes back to the Nürburgring for a second time, having been in the championship last year. We were here at the Nürburgring in 2017. Didn't Didn't race here in 2016, but we're here in 2015 as well. And one of the facts that Renault have provided this weekend is that every time the championship has been to the Nürburgring, one of the race winners here has gone on to become the champion. Here then is confirmation of the start grid. It's Sargent and Futrell on the front row of the grid, having both topped their respective qualifying groups. Jan Lundgaard, the top two in the championship, side by side, third and fourth. Martins and Milesi are fifth and sixth. Charles Milesi looking to come back after a torrid couple of weekends. Alex Smolyar and Oscar Piastri, the Russian and the Australian, are on row 4. Timo Neubauer going well in qualifying for 9th place. Lorenzo Colombo in 10th position. And looking to come forward here as a championship contender. There's Peroni and Martinez on row 6. On row 7, it's Maxwell and Rouget. Artur Rouget felt he could have been in the top 10, but never hooked his 3 sectors together. Then we have Cosmodos and Frank Bird and Klemen Novalak, who we saw earlier on. Alongside Volleygolf, Taufik, who got his first points of the championship last time out in Hungary. And Verhagen, a little bit disappointed down in 20th place. Razak and Matthews on the 11th row. The 12th row of the grid is Frederik Schotthurst, who's only done a few races in his entire career, having, as I explained at the Budapest event, having come from a sim racing background and only having one weekend so far of Formula Renault experience, and a weekend in Formula 4 where he was hugely impressive and got up onto the podium and broke a lap record over in Russia. So we'll see how Frank gets on. The Dutch driver is hoping to be here for the rest of the season with the MP Motorsport squad, who are trying to hold on to the tails, as I say, of the RHGP squad for the Teams Championship this year, and looking for their first title, whether it's a team's title or a driver's title. I'd say they've probably got more chance of the driver's title with Christian Lundgaard this year. But either way, MP will be looking for their first Eurocup Championship title. RSGP, out of the 14 races so far, have topped the points 9 times as a team. You take your top 2 drivers at the end of the race, so the maximum you can score is 43 points. If you get drivers in first and second, 25 plus 18. And they've done it 9 times this season. They have outscored their team rivals. MP Motorsports, who are second in the points, have done it 5 times. And they're the only teams to have topped the points. Joseph Kaufmann Racing, who have had race wins here in the past. They're a local circuit, the German team. They're Rania Fillier, who is on the 2nd row of the grid, the championship leader. And they're only about 80 kilometres from here as a team. So I'll count this very much as their home circuit. Good knowledge here, and should have a good understanding of the setup required to perform well. We'll see how Yiffy gets on. That 2nd row of the grid is going to be well worth watching. Just in front of the commentary box, you can see the last few cars still making their way onto the grid. Frederik Schotthurst is just coming up now. We've got the Formula Renault NEC competitors as well, looking for their separate points, category within the category, so they make up large parts of the tail end of the grid. And Raoul Guzman there, right at the back of the grid, will be looking for a good start to the race in the blue and white number 85 Fortec car. Green flag wave at the back of the grid then, as we get set for 30 minutes plus 1 lap of racing. Chris Hartley here at the Nürburgring for the first race of the weekend. Lights out, and we are underway, and it looks like a very good start for Logan Sargent. If he is looking strong though, isn't he? The red and white car trying to be in 2nd. Logan Sargent covers off the line. Max Futrell, yellow car, green wing mirrors, in 2nd place, but Yiffy coming along the outside of it. They all go deep into the corner. Yiffy runs wide over the white lines. He's going to have the inside line for turn 2 though, and he's going to get 2nd place. Yiffy to 2nd place ahead of Max Futrell, and Christian Lundgaard trying to come through as well on both of them here. The championship leader goes 3rd, he's going to go 2nd. Absolutely fantastic anticipation there from the Dane, and he goes into 2nd place ahead of both of his championship rivals, but he runs wide on the exit to turn 4. Down the back straight there we'll go towards the 5th gear, left-hander at Valvoline. Through that corner now goes Logan Sargent. Lundgaard holds them off though and stays 2nd. Futrell in 3rd, and Yiffy is going to fall back further here if he's not careful, because you've got Alex Smolyar trying to come around the outside of him in the 22 car. I think he's done it on the way out of the Ford curve, and as they make their way through this unnamed left-hand kink now, flat out down towards the 2nd gear hairpin at Dunlop, they will shuffle into position, trying to come around the outside again here and gain another place and get into the top 3 is the red, white and blue car of Alex Smolyar, but the number 22 Tech 1 Racing Machine can't get through. So not a great, well, it was a good start, a very good start for Yiffy, but it all went wrong into turn 2, didn't it? And it would have been, his heart would have sunk when he saw his had to be those two, didn't it? His two championship rivals that came past him. But Christian Lundgaard, as he battled Yiffier with Max Futrell, really did anticipate that well and was able to come storming through. It's all allowed Logan Sargent, the American, was also with the RHGP squad, to have a pretty healthy lead here. Sean Malesi is now the next driver in the number 3 car on the tail, on the case of Yiffier. Is going to have to go a little bit defensive here on the way into the chicane for the first time in the race. He takes the tight inside line. Hopefully they won't compromise him. Oscar Piastri getting attacked there from just behind it. I think it was Nürburgring he came in contact with, and the Australian is sent around, and I think has lost the engine, or at least, no, he's got the engine running, but he's got to wait for the pack to come through, and he's going to rejoin, I'm afraid, in dead last place. That's hugely frustrating for Oscar, who's looked pretty quick here so far this weekend, and who runs in the top 10 in the championship. So Sargent leading by a whopping 2.1 seconds at the end of the first lap. That's partially him going really well, and partially the battles which delayed second, third, fourth and fifth. Here they all come at the tail end of the field, darting in now to try and get that position on the way into turn 1. And there is Phil Hill in the black and red car, going side by side with one of his key rivals in the NEC Championship, the number 5 car of the Argentinian Gabriel Gandulia. So good scraps all the way through the field here. Naji Razak has come into the pits in the 27 car. And Frank Bird hasn't come through yet. So was it Bird maybe that had the issue with Piastri, because Nürburgring and Bird's cars very similar livery. We'll find out. Nürburgring, I think, has dropped down the order a little in 8th place. But either way, poor old Oscar Piastri crossed the line in 26th position. As the last of the cars running from the Eurocup group. And did Raul Guzman get on the first lap of the race? He did pretty well. He gained quite a number of places, up into 20th place for Raul Guzman. So a very good start to the race for him, picking his way through the trouble. There we see the green and white machine of Thomas Maxwell. He's in 9th place, and Thomas Neuer right in front of him in 8th. We're going to get a replay of the start now, and terrific start from Logan Sargent. Very, very good start from Yiffier, who got the run here. He was on the outside line and watches the red and white car, the Joseph Kaufman driver, battles here to go around the outside of Max Futrell. They go deep, and watch Lundgaard in 4th place. He watches it go on. He just gives himself a bit of breathing space. They go wide again into turn 2, and he gets down the inside of both of them. It was terrific driving by Christian, and a real bonus for him to be in 2nd place, having started 4th on the grid. There was the contact with poor Oscar Piastri being spun around and having to wait forever, it felt like, to get back in the queue. The gap from 1st to 2nd has come down at the end of the 2nd lap of the race. Christian Lundgaard gets the gap down by pretty much half a second. But the fastest lap of the race has gone to Max Futrell in 3rd place, who was mighty in qualifying this morning. He really does have a knack of putting in his fastest lap of the session right at the end of the session. Now obviously the tyres get better, the fuel load comes down. You have a window usually of about 3 laps where the tyres are at their best in qualifying, but a lot of the other drivers sort of run out of steam with a lap or 2 of the session to go. Max is almost always the driver that on his very last lap, as the flag's almost dropping, sets his best lap of the session, and that was why he nailed that very impressive fastest in group this morning. So we'll watch how he gets on. There he is, hunting down not his teammate, although they're in the same scheme, because MP Motorsport run Christian Lundgaard just ahead. RHGP run Max, who raced here last year, had a good battle with Dan Tixon, who's gone to become a front runner in Formula 3 racing in Europe. Had a good scrap for 5th place in the first race of the weekend. He was with the Tech 1 racing team last year. Max with a different team for this season, closing the gap all the time at each and every corner, it seems. Still a long, long way to go in the race as well. So Sargent leading. He'll be hoping these two hold each other up and battle away. 4th place, you've got Victor Martins, who's sort of stranded on his own at the moment. Alex Smollier with a good start in 5th place. Yiffier down in 6th place. Sean Malesi still right behind him in 7th. Thomas Newbauer in 8th place. Thomas Maxwell in 9th place. And Martin Rougier is in 10th place. The yellow and black cars, all the Renault Sport Academy backed drivers with Renault Sport. Developing these drivers in terms of their fitness levels. They have special fitness training, of course, across the course of the weekend and in between race meetings. The media training, and they have opportunities to get involved with the Renault Formula 1 team as well as potential stars in the rising. Logan Sargent it is, though, that leads the way. The gaps come down again, though. Look, 1.3 seconds it now is. Christian Lundgaard is being pressed here by Max Futrell, and both of them are pushing themselves up towards the race leader. For the second lap in succession, Futrell sets the fastest lap of the race. You're looking at Ifie there, who's going to lose serious amount of points here if it stays like this, because Christian Lundgaard, who's already 8 points clear of him in the championship, is on course for second place and 18 points, and Ifie currently in 6th place is only on for 8 points, so the gap would go from 8 to 18 points, I think, as it stands. And you can see the top 10. Alex Peroni just outside the points in 11th place. Lorenzo Colombo 12th. Remember, Lorenzo's a multiple podium finisher this year, and a very talented rookie, and he's 5th in the championship, but he's just struggled for pace here a little bit so far this weekend. And currently the Rapid Italian for the JD Motorsport squad, who were dominant really in this championship in the 1990s. They won 4 drivers' titles on the bounce. They took some time away from this championship, were successful in other categories, came back. It took them a while to score podiums. In fact, at Monza, Lorenzo Colombo got their first podium for them for a number of seasons. But there he is in the 61 car, away from the points at the moment. 32, the orange and blue car. Another of the MP Motorsport cars is the Monaco race winner, Alex Peroni, who's desperately trying to find a way past Arthur Rougier here, who is the Renault Sports Academy driver, but run by the British Fortex squad, who won multiple British Formula Renault titles and international Formula Renault titles as well. And Arthur Rougier, who was looking much stronger in the second half of the season. At the moment, he's able to fend off Alex Peroni as they come towards the end of the second sector, over the timing beam and into the braking zone for the NGK chicane. Colombo not quite there in terms of pace, in terms of trying to close that gap. Past the commentary box window goes the race leader, Logan Sargent. The gap is just over a second now, 1.024 seconds. And this time it's Christian Lundgaard in second place, who sets the fastest lap of the race, 1 minute 57.685. And that compares to a 1:57.999 for the race leader, so just over 3 tenths quicker. And he was about a tenth quicker than Max Futrell in third place. So second is catching first. Third is also quicker than the race leader, so the gap from first to third, from Sargent to Futrell, is only 1.5 seconds now, and there you can see them all within the same picture here. And Logan Sargent, having made the most of this great escape that he had in the first lap of the race, can he get away from them, and can he soak up the pressure, which is undoubtedly coming the way these drivers are catching him up. So Logan Sargent, for his first wins, the very first race of the season. Tough time, as I said, for a couple of rounds. He got a few points in the 4th round of the season at Monaco. It wasn't a great weekend for him. He had a double retirement in the 5th weekend of the season at the Red Bull Ring. One good race, one not so good race at Spa. Had a very good second place finish in race 2, but was only 9th in race 1. And then a kind of okay weekend with a 5th and a 7th at Hungary last time out. So he said to me this morning, it's all about qualifying, and qualify well and not get sucked into other people's battles, then I'll be fine. And it's working so far. Got the pole position and hasn't looked back so far. Logan Sargent, former world karting champion. Alex Peroni just has fallen away in the orange MP Motorsport car. Just fallen away a little bit now to the Arthur Rougier in the 87 Fortec car. It's the battle for the final points position. Every point counts in this championship. Through come the leaders. Gap looks to the eye about the same. Still looks to be hovering around about the 1 second mark. In fact, I think throughout the first couple of sectors it's gone out. We'll see what the overall lap times are like, but Sargent's on for a very good lap here, and he crosses the line, and he sets the fastest lap of the race for a moment, and then Max Futrell crosses the line a second and a half later and goes even quicker with a 1:57.341, and he's now right on the tail of Christian Lundgaard. These two battling for the championship potentially. One leads, the Dane leads the Brit in third place in the championship standings, trying to close a 31.5 point deficit. And look at the quickest man on the track at the moment. Into the left-hander through the Mercedes arena they go. And towards the right-hander, critical exit here through turn 4, because you've got a long straight now as you build up towards 5th gear. And the very rapid left-hander at the Valvoline curve, which they've taken around about 165 kilometres an hour. These 210 brake horsepower single-seater machines. If he is struggling for pace, he is 6th. He's pulling away from Milesi, but he's not catching anybody ahead of him. So it's damage limitation at the moment for Ifie. He got his maiden podium here 12 months ago in the wet race 2. His third place finish there, his first time on the podium. He's since gone on to become a race winner, and he's been trading the championship lead with Christian Lundgaard for the last few rounds of the season. There you can see the lap time comparison between Lundgaard and Futrell, and by and large he's coming down, particularly on that last lap, nearly 3 tenths quicker Victor Martins just in the background there will see this going on, and now maybe fancies his chances because it's spurring on. Victor, who's just set the fastest first sector of the race so far and was virtually half a second quicker than the two ahead of him just through the first sector of the lap. That is impressive. So Victor Martins, if he can keep this lap going, he's going to smash the fastest lap of the race so far. We're under our lap record here, set by Max Stefani last year in the first race of the weekend, was a 156.2. So we're still over that at the moment, but perhaps not quite ideal conditions, not quite warm enough for the tyres here. But they could well be pushing themselves into the low 157s by the end of this race. Let's see what the lap times are like then. Through they go, 157.5 for the leader, 157.8 for the next two, 157.4 for Victor Martins as Max Futrell looks at the inside, Davies to the outside here in the battle for second place. His nose is in front, but he's going to be pushed deep into the corner. Christian Lundgaard holds his line, as is his right to do so. Coming back at him into turn two is Max Futrell here. No way through, nothing giving, and he'll have to sit tight once again. And you'll see in a moment that Victor Martins is going to be way closer to the pair of them. Every time they battle each other into a corner, they hold each other up. And Victor Martins, who's already been going quickly, fancies a piece of this. So second, third and fourth could be together in a moment. And that will be great news for Logan Sargent, who's just minding his own business at the head of the field. Smoliar still in fifth place in the background. Currently about 7/10 of a second clear of Ifier in sixth place. Jean Milesi seventh. Neubauer, Maxwell and Peroni rounding out the points. Because Peroni has now moved ahead of Arthur Rougier on the previous lap. So into the top 10 for Alex Peroni. A lock-up there for Christian Lundgaard. And this will be inspiring on the British driver just behind him, Max Futrell, as he tries to close the gap. But we've seen this a few times over the season. Christian Lundgaard brakes super late into the corners, locks up the tyres, but doesn't seem to lose any speed coming out of the corners. And the gap between the pair of them looks pretty much the same as they made their way out through the Schumacher S's, through the left-hander Michelin curve, into Warsteiner curve, and onto the very fast section now. This is the longest period on the throttle as they go flat out through the Ad Van Bogen in sixth gear at something like 215 kilometres an hour. It's a gradual uphill climb here. It gets steeper and steeper as you get into the braking zone for the NGK chicane. And it's a steep climb out of it as well into the final two turns of the lap. So you've got to be brave on the brakes. You've also got to be neat and tidy on the way out of the corner, because if you bog down on the exit to the corner, it will kill your speed all the way up through to the final turn at Coca-Cola curve, where they are now. And you've got to get that exit absolutely spot on as well, because again, it's a long run down the straight here into this overtaking opportunity at turn one at Haug, named after the ex-Formula 1 Mercedes boss, now commentator Norbert Haug. The inside line's covered, so no way through except to go the outside for Max Futrell. Same thing happens. He goes wide, he goes over the lines. He's trying to get on the inside for the left-hander though, and this time he's got the gap and he's got through into second place for Max Futrell. He tried it one lap ago. Lundgaard was able to cover off the line, and this time it works. So into second place for Max Futrell, down to third place for Christian Lundgaard. Max on for 18 points, down to 15 points now. It will be for third place for Christian Lundgaard, and so taking a little bit away points-wise from Lundgaard, and that would put him now a little bit closer, but still quite a long way from the championship leader. He needs to ideally pick up a win tomorrow if he can, and at least a win or two over the last two weekends of the season, Max Futrell. But he's on for 18 points. He's going to get the deficit down from 31.5 points to 28.5 points. It's still more than a race win. And it took Christian Lundgaard. He's been the form driver in the last 6 races. Christian has scored more points than anybody else. Max Futrell has been the second best point scorer in the last 6 races. But it takes a long time to chip that away. It's taken 6 races for Christian to close down at 25 points on Ifier, which is a race win. Here's a replay of the move, so late on the brakes. And then he knows exactly what he's doing here. He keeps it out wide because he knows he's going to have the line for the left-hander. Christian Lundgaard saw it coming one lap ago and was able to scramble across and cover the line. This time, though, Max got his foot in the door too early, and that was a very well thought-out manoeuvre. A smart move, that, from the Brit to go into second place. So very international-looking field here. We've got the American Logan Sargent in the lead, the British driver Max Futrell in second, the Danish driver Christian Lundgaard in third, French driver Victor Martins in fourth place, one of a crop of talented young French drivers that are coming through the junior ranks. We've already got ex-Formula Renault Eurocup champion Pierre Gasly in Formula 1 and moving into the Red Bull team next year. And the likes of Esteban Ocon, although he might not be with the drive in F1 next year, very, very impressive as well. So lots of French talent coming through at the moment, and many of them have come up through the Formula Renault Eurocup. Esteban Ocon raced in this championship before he moved on to win the Formula 3 European Championship and then moving on up through the higher levels of single-seater racing and, of course, into Formula 1, where he's been very impressive with the Force India team this year. But politics might mean Esteban has to have a year on the sidelines as a reserve driver next year, but a bright future for Esteban, no doubt about it, as one of the many drivers that's come up and been successful through this championship. There is Thomas Neubauer and the 23 car, the Tech 1 Racing team, run by brother and sister Simon and Sarah Abadi. Simon was a racer himself, and the team that ran Max Futrell to the rookie championship title last year, as Raul Guzman looking to pick up another place there in the blue and white machine. That was up the inside of the 42 car, the other Russian driver of the championship, Nikita Volygov, who had a rather unusual welcome to the championship in his first weekend at Spa, where he was given contact into the first corner, into the La Source hairpin, and sent into a barrel roll. But Volygov has looked a decent driver. Always tough to come into a championship mid-season where everybody else is up to speed, and particularly when you're going up against drivers that have been doing it for a season and a half. But Volygov has looked like he comes back next year well capable of being competitive and fighting for podium finishes. There's Charles Milesi, who's on course for 7th place at the moment. He was very honest with me yesterday. So what's been going wrong for the last few rounds? You had brilliant mid-season, you were great at Silverstone, you were even better at Monaco with a win and the 2nd place. Why has it not quite come together for you the last few rounds? And he said, it's a little bit me. He said, I've just made small mistakes in qualifying, and I haven't been as high up the grid as I should have been. And then in the races, I've got involved in some battles, and I've again made a few small mistakes. So it was very refreshing to see the young French driver being so honest, not trying to blame everybody else, not trying to blame the car or the team or bad luck, but being very honest. And he has had some bad luck. But as he said, if he could have had better qualifying performances, you tend to stay away from a lot of that trouble. Not always, but often. 12 minutes just under to go in the race, plus the 1 lap at the end of the 30 minutes. As you look at Ifie here in his 2nd season of the championship, can he win the title? He's been a little bit on the back foot over the last few weekends, but he had that very impressive victory in race 1 at Hungaroring 2 weeks ago, but then had a rare race outside of the points. It's only the 2nd time this season that Ifie didn't finish in the points. That was in race 2, and he finished in 11th place. He's the only driver this season to have finished every single race. He's got to the end every single time this year. His worst finish across the line has been an 11th place finish, that one last time out. Although he was classified rather lower down the order at Monza after a penalty with his coming together with Max Futrell. Dropped him down to 15th place. Logan Sargent is now building the gap back up, 1.7 seconds clear generally, although Max Futrell is still trying hard and has set the fastest lap of the race with a 1:56.857. So the gap went down to a second, it went back up to nearly 2, and it's come back down to 1.6 seconds now. Max Futrell trying hard here, and if he gets a sniff, he gets a chance, I'm sure he's going to try and go for the race victory. RSGP 1-2 at the moment, which will do then harm their chances of taking the championship title this weekend with a couple of events to spare. No harm whatsoever. 53, Eliseo Martinez having one of his strongest weekends so far in the championship. The AVF team seem to have found something over the last couple of weekends. They had a first point scoring finish for Axel Matthews at the Hungaroring with a very good 8th place finish. And Eliseo Martinez has been getting better and better results recently as well. So things just starting to click a little bit more now for the Spanish team, who've got a fairly unexperienced driver lineup this year. Here's a replay of the 51 car of Matthews having a lockup. Sami Taufik going through in slow motion. Christian Munotz, Volygov, and Oscar Piastri, of course, is trying to find his way back through the field. How's he doing? He's 20th at the moment. So the 2 from the back of the field, Piastri, who was nerfed into the spin at the chicane, is in 20th place. Raul Guzman has actually dropped back to 21st now, so having had a really good start, Raul has slipped out of the top 20 once again. Track limits being investigated for the aforementioned Raul Guzman as well. After the race they're going to investigate it, but they could be in trouble there with the officials, which will compound a really difficult day so far for Raul. Through they come. And in terms of the NEC drivers, Phil Hill, who leads the standings there, he's in 23rd place. He was, they've just switched around in fact. He's having a good battle with the fellow German of number 91, Gatas. So they swap positions, 23rd and 24th, but first and second in class at the moment, and now half a second between them, third in that class, and on for the NEC podium is the number 5 car of Gabriel Gandulia. All cars except for Razak and Bird still running in the race. 26 of the 28 cars, and pushing a bit too hard there was Max Futrell, who went all over the curbs on the way out of the penultimate corner at turn 15. And a little bit ragged. He's definitely got a race victory on his mind here, and he's got time to catch the gap. But he's got to be careful not to push the tyres too much. All he can do is keep on applying the pressure here. Teammates they might be, but Max Futrell is out for the championship title, and a much needed win here would be a great welcome to him. So the gap now down to just under 9/10 of a second on that lap. The leader, Logan Sargent, 157.3, 156.9 for Max Futrell. So he took 4/10 out of him on that lap, despite running a bit ragged through the last sector, where he gave away 1/10 of a second. So he would have been half a second quicker at least, had he not made that small mistake. But it shows just how much commitment he's got here to not just settling for being ahead of his championship rivals, but looking for the 25 points. Because if instead of closing the gap by 3 points, if he can get the win and close the gap to Lundgaard by 10 points, he'll get rid of a third of the advantage of Christian Lundgaard, more or less. Coming uphill then, they come in towards the right-hander through the Dunlop hairpin, and here's that moment. Just back end of the car was just a bit loose as he hit the apex, so just had to correct it, by which time he was skittling over the curbs and just kicked up the grass on the exit to the turn. Lost him 1/10 of a second. He reacted very quickly and kept it on the road, and I think he started to come back now at the race leader through sector 1, 54.087. He was not much quicker, but he was about half a tenth quicker, so it's going in the right direction again for Max Futrell. When he gets a bit closer, it might become a bit tougher because they'll get the dirty air off the rear wing and off the aerodynamics of the Formula Renault car. That is not going to stop Max giving this 100% here. Proven race winner this year, a driver that's also had a bit of bad luck along the way. Back to issues with the car in one of the qualifying sessions at Silverstone at his home race, a retirement from that second race at Silverstone when he looked so good on the first day with a race win. So he's had wins in France at Paul Ricard, he had a win in Silverstone, he had a win at the Red Bull Ring, and he's had 7 other podium finishes this year to be 3rd place in the standings. Last year's rookie champion there, going through shot in 2nd. Christian Lundgaard is keeping Victor Martins at bay for 3rd. 5th place Smollier on his own. Yiffier is only half a second clear of Charmelesi for 6th place though. Yiffier's really got to make sure he doesn't lose any more positions here. It's what it might have been for Yiffier, because he could well have been 2nd at the end of that run through the first set of corners at the start of the race. As it was, he ended the lap down in 6th place. Made a very good start, he was just in the wrong place at the wrong time. And because they were so tightly packed, once Lundgaard made the move and Futrell followed him, everybody else came through as well. Clement Novalat there coming under pressure from the Neil Verhagen car, and Neil, another driver that's been impressive at times this year, but has had a couple of decidedly disappointing rounds as well. 14th and 15th at the moment, those two drivers, well outside the points. A lock up there for Clement Novalat. He's been doing some racing in the British F3 Championship this year as well. French driver, runs with a British race licence, and with a great karting pedigree as well. Neil Verhagen really showing his nose there on the way into Dunlop, but having to back off out of the corner. As Clement Novalat fends him off. Clement run by the Joseph Kaufmann squad. Joseph Kaufmann, the team founder, and his son Lars running the team and having these successes over the years. They took Sasha Fenestras to the championship title last year. He was one of the race winners here at the Nürburgring as well. And they took Stoffel van Dorn to the championship title in 2012. And of course, an F1 racer with McLaren. And he too was a race winner here at the Nürburgring. So Joseph Kaufmann with strong pedigree and an excellent record at this circuit, but the best placed driver for them at the moment is Yiffier in 6th place. Neil Verhagen now looks to the inside on the way to the left-hand part of the chicane, comes off the line through the right-hand part, and that was coming for a while, wasn't it? Because Neil just looked that little bit quicker, looked like the car had more grip, was underneath him a bit more, and has been able to maintain the tyres. So up to 14th place he goes, and he's away like a rat up a drain pipe, but his chances of getting in the top 10 are still pretty slim. It won't stop him trying. That was a good move from Neil. Through he went, Clement giving him room, good fair driving from the pair of them. about the gap from first to second. It's 0.6 of a second. On the previous lap, Max Futrell set the fastest third sector of anybody so far in the race, and he gained another 0.3 of a second. So Max Futrell really gritting his teeth here, digging in and closing up to the race leader, who is now coming under pressure and locking the tyres and starting to struggle with the rubber here. And the best lap times for these drivers are in the case of Logan Sargent, a low 1:57. In the case of Max Futrell, a 1:56.8. They are around about 2 to 3 of a second a lap slower than that now. So the best clearly has gone from the tyres, although you have to say these tyres still hold on very well. Lorenzo Colombo was saying the tyres are fantastic for a few laps, then they drop quite significantly from one lap to the next, but then they stay consistent. They don't get worse and worse and worse throughout the course of a race. So they give you a fast tyre for 2 or 3 laps at least to get a quick lap in qualifying, but they're also tyres which the drivers are able to keep underneath them throughout the course of these longer races this year. Don't forget, they only had 25-minute plus 1 lap races last year, but now they're slightly longer, 5 minutes longer. We're into the final 3 minutes of the race, and you can see the top 2 together here. And now 3 seconds clear, Christian Lundgaard. Got the sound of gravel in the background, somebody running off through, and maybe a back marker, but no problem so far as Logan Sargent comes through into the Coca-Cola curve. Looks nailed on through there, accelerates through. Sharon Scolari is the driver that will be coming up to lap, currently running in 26th place. In the NEC battle, by the way, it's now the number 91 car in first place. And looking strong, Duri Gattas is 0.8 of a second clear of the number 5 car, Gabriel Gandula, and Phil Hill now down to 3rd place. So this is going to make the NEC Championship standings very interesting indeed. They'll be back with us at Hockenheim next weekend as well. So here's Logan Sargent just getting the front right tyre locked up there, the Michelin slick tyre on the way into the right-hander. No serious damage done. Might flat to spot the tyre a bit, which will make it a little bit of a vibration. He ran wide on the way out of the corner as well, but they tend to do that, tend to use the curbs here on the exit to that turn. So Sargent soaking up the pressure for now. Can he hang on to take his second race victory in his first season of the Formula Renault Eurocup? Logan Sargent will be being willed on here by his friends and his family and everybody watching at home. But it's going to be a tense few minutes for them, isn't it? With this pressure that's been coming and coming and coming relentlessly almost from Max Futrell. He pulled off that superb move on Christian Lundgaard to get second place away from him, to get back ahead, crucially, of the driver who overtook him at the start when he was battling away with the FEE. So Sharon Scolari in the luminous coloured car moving out of the way now. And through come the leaders. The gap over the line was 0.7 of a second. It looks similar. In fact, Logan Sargent somehow has just set his personal best through sector 1, and sector 1 is almost half the lap time here. It's a very long first sector. It's 54 seconds or so through there. Well, 53.97 seconds in the case of Logan Sargent. Oscar Piastri trying to charge his way through the field. That was him making a move, I think, on Mathius for 16th place. Still outside the points though for Oscar, but proving how quick the Australian driver is. So they're going to have time for one more lap before the clock runs out, plus the one at the end, 2 laps to go at the end of this one with 36 seconds left on the clock. Time is running out for Max Futrell. It's already going to be a good result for him, this. Logan Sargent is a driver behind him in the standings, but he'd much rather, if he gets a chance, go for the 25 points rather than the 18. But Lundgaard's only in 3rd place, EVA is only in 6th position. It's going to close the gap to both of those if it stays like this. Lundgaard 3rd, Victor Martins 4th, Smoliar in 5th, one of his best results of the season so far. Ivier in 6th place, Charles Milesi in 7th, Thomas Neubauer still 8th, Thomas Maxwell 9th, and Alex Peroni in 10th place. Arthur Rouget nearly 3 seconds adrift now in 11th, so not looking like he's going to get any points in this one. Lorenzo Colombo is also on for a rare non-point scoring finish. He's still in 12th place. He's only had 3 races this year, the Italian, where he hasn't finished in the points in the top 10. Has been 4 times on the podium this season. So Logan Sargent with a lap and a half to hold on to this, but here comes Max Futrell closing the gap again under braking into Dunlop. On the exit to the turn, he's slightly neater as well, uses slightly less curb through the first sector. He's half a tenth quicker, 54.15 for Sargent, 54.10 for Futrell. So the gap comes down to less than 0.7 of a second for the first time in the race. He's been eating away at the advantage. It was just around 2 seconds. It's now just over half a second, but he's got to find some way of closing that gap and somehow getting past with Just a lap or so to go in the race now as they go flat out through Ad Van Bogen in 6th gear, uphill towards the chicane. Futrell's almost relying on Sargent making a mistake, and the American has been wheel perfect so far. He hasn't put a foot wrong apart from that one lockup, that one slightly wide moment that we saw. He has done a great job here in really responding to the pressure that's been coming. He might not be necessarily one of the front runners in the championship, although he's still 6th, he still mathematically could win it, but it's the race victory here which he badly wants. The sun's shining now. Those rain clouds, 1 or 2 of them that were in the sky, have gone away. We're on the final lap of the race. 3rd and 4th look to be settled. Lundgaard ahead of Martins. It's closing up a little bit though for 5th place. Alexander Smoliar and Yiffier, the gap coming, I think, down between the pair of them. Max Futrell, in his efforts to close the gap to the race leader, set the fastest 3rd sector of the entire race last time around. It's a short sector, but it was 20.739 seconds. So the gap hovering around 0.8 of a second, but he lost out in the middle of the lap. He lost 0.3 in the middle of the lap. So overall, the gap stays as it was really between the two of them. Half a lap to go then for Logan Sargent to hold on to his victory here. He's 2nd of the season in his rookie season. Again, he goes a bit wide, but Max Futrell is not close enough to pounce here, and his opportunities are running out all the time. 3 NEC drivers go through. Still a good battle for 2nd place going on between them. Hill's got back into 2nd ahead of Gandulia. So battles further down in the NEC category, but almost home there, almost within the checkered flag within view is Logan Sargent. The clock has long since ticked down to 0. It goes through the chicane for the final time in the race. Max Futrell knows, I think, that time is almost up for him. Another big, mighty lockup there for Logan Sargent. Don't make a mistake now, Logan. You've just got to bring it home for the last few corners of the race. It's been a lights to flag victory, helped out by the battle that went on in the first 2 laps of the race. He made the most of it. He got his head down, and he pulled 2 seconds clear at the end of the first lap of the race. Futrell reeled him in and reeled him in and reeled him in, but he's been able to just keep him at arm's length for the last 5 or 6 laps of this race. And now he has just got to negotiate the Coca-Cola Cup for the final time. The checkered flag is being unfurled here, and the 15th round of the Formula Renault Eurocup 2018 is going to go the way of Logan Sargent. He takes the win here. The American punches the air in delight. Victory for him, 2nd place, but a very satisfactory 2nd place for Max Futrell, who takes points away from his championship rivals and closes the gap to Christian Lundgaard, who he overtook at mid-distance. Lundgaard in 3rd. Not too bad from 4th place, but because he was in 2nd position, still some battles going on in the tail end of the points. So it's going to be 4th place to Martins, 5th place to Smoliar, 6th place to Yi. Such disappointment after actually getting off the line really well and briefly being in 2nd place. But again, he loses points to Christian Lundgaard. Not quite as bad as it could have been, because it's 15 points rather than 18 points for Lundgaard, but still the gap opens up. Another day to come tomorrow, though. There is Phil Hill, who's late on got himself back into 2nd place, the front runner in the NEC Championship, with the victory in that category by some distance in the end. Is going to go the way of Duride Gattas. So it's a German 1-2 with Hill 1.8 seconds back, and even though he got 2nd place with a lap and a bit to go, he still was well over a second clear of Gabriel Gandulia, who was 3rd in the category as they crossed the line. Oscar Piastri, by the way, on the last lap of the race, in his attempts to come through after that contact on lap 1, he set the fastest 3rd sector of anybody and got a personal best lap. So full marks to Oscar. He didn't get into the point, 16th place in the end, but it wasn't for the want of trying. Logan Sargent, though, with a race victory here at the Nürburgring from that pole position. He wins by just under 0.7 of a second. A brave effort and challenge from Max Futrell in 2nd place. And Christian Lundgaard in 3rd spot, the championship leader, pulling away from Yiffier in the points, but being closed upon by Futrell, 3rd in the standings. Victor Martins 4th, was 3.6 seconds clear of Alexander Smoliar. In turn was only half a second clear of Yiffier, who seemed to get a good run together at the end of the race and look after his tyres, but ran out of time. So 6th place it was for the erstwhile championship leader. Charles Milesi in 7th place wasn't far behind either, just 0.7 between Ye and Milesi, just about 1.5 seconds between 5th, 6th and 7th positions in that race. Thomas Neubauer with a very strong drive to 8th place. That's a really good result for him. As I say, he's had a really tough time lately with missing the races through injury at the Red Bull Ring at Spa, and then coming back to find himself crashing out of the race twice last time out in Budapest. So a welcome return to the points for the French driver. There's confirmation of the top 12 finishing positions. Thomas Maxwell once again, as he's been most times this season, in the points in 9th place. Alex Peroni in the points as well. Those two Australian drivers separated by just over half a second at the line. Artur Ruggiero will definitely be disappointed to be outside the points, because he's had the speed and the pace to challenge for maybe I'd say a top 6, top 7 finish this weekend, but it hasn't quite worked out today. So 11th for him. And Lorenzo Colombo, well, he now loses out in the championship fight 5th in the points, but no points today. Alicia Martinez with another good result, 13th place. That's one of his best of the season so far. 11th place is his best so far, and he's edging towards the points finish. Neil Verhagen in 14th place. Clement Novalak with one of his strong results of the season in 15th in his first year of the championship. Piastri coming back from that contact at the chicane on that one of the race for 16th place in the end. So applause now to the race winner, who calmly gets out of the car, makes sure he replaces the steering wheel, and now gathers himself up and gives it large, shouts and cheers and punches the air, goes straight over to the team, to his race engineer. It's another victory for the RHGP squad. It's a 1-2 finish for them. In fact, they've had a few of those this year as well. I think that is their 7th time that they've had a 1-2 finish this year, RHGP. It's not bad, is it, for a team that wasn't in Formula Renault Eurocup 2 years ago. They're already winning the Teams Championship. They won it last year, and that takes them another step closer towards wrapping up the 2018 Teams Championship before we even get to Hockenheim, and long before we go to the finale at Barcelona. So Logan Sargent, Max Futrell and Christian Lundgaard will make their way to the podium. There's also a trophy for the top rookie, and as has been the case many times this season, one of the rookies is already on the podium because it's Logan Sargent. Christian Lundgaard's had plenty of overall wins and picked up rookie trophies at the same time as well. And of course, as the overall points leader, Christian is leading the rookie standings in this final few rounds of the season. Victor Martins is the 2nd best placed rookie. Then Lorenzo Colombo was, but with that non-point scoring finish for the Italian and the win for Logan Sargent, Logan is going to move ahead of Lorenzo and up to 3rd place in the rookie standings and 5th place overall, I think. So Max Futrell there, who is trying to describe what happened with the car there, always thinking about the car, how they can improve it. It's Thierry, the team boss. Max Futrell giving it everything he could, but in the end, Logan Sargent held on for the race win. Let's hear from him now.
A massive congratulations. How does it feel to win here at Nürburgring?
Obviously a great feeling. We've had a couple of tough rounds. We've had the speed, and finally we were able to put it together. So really big thanks to the team for the hard work this weekend. And yeah, we'll go for it again tomorrow.
Was it tough fending off the competition?
In the beginning it was quite smooth sailing, and then Max got in a second. He was really quick, and I just had to focus, make no mistakes, and he never got close enough.
Congratulations.
Thanks very much, Dakota. Good to hear from your race winner there, Logan Sargent. So those drivers will be making their way to the podium, and while we wait for them, let's get some highlights from that race. So this was the start, and Yiffy there on the outside of the red and white car had a great start from the 2nd row of the grid. Nosed into 2nd place, looked like he'd have the inside line for turn 2, then got muscled out of it as Christian Lundgaard went from 4th to 2nd. Futrell dropped back as well, but then we had this contact with Oscar Piastri, unfortunately being spun around at the chicane, and lots of other cars having to go off in avoidance. The race then began to settle down, but with Yiffy 2nd in the championship, down in 6th place. Max Futrell went on the attack to try and get Lundgaard back into turn 1. This was first time of asking, he didn't quite pull it off. The inside line was covered, and Lundgaard drifted across to cover the line into turn 2, but 1 lap later he tried again, almost exactly the same move, and he went down the inside into turn 2 to snatch back some vital championship points and get himself into 2nd place. He then tried to catch the race leader. He did so. He got the gap down from just over 2 seconds to just about 0.6 of a second in the end. Good move late on from Neil Verhagen, but a slightly fruitless move because it was still outside the points for him. Some lockups late on, but some no real serious problems for Logan Sargent as he went through the Coca-Cola curve and knew he'd done it to take his 2nd race victory of the season, his 2nd race victory in the Formula Renault Eurocup. That's it then from the Nürburgring. Join us again tomorrow, though, for race 2. From me, Chris Hartley, and the team, thanks very much for watching. We'll see you again soon.